Part 1. The shock of a new enemy. A tank explodes. Not from a bomb. Not from artillery. From a single shot fired over a kilometer away. No warning. No second chance. That was the moment a lot of Allied crews realized something was very wrong. Because the enemy they thought they understood had changed. Part 2. Blitzkrieg origins. Back in 1940, German tanks weren't the biggest. They weren't the thickest. Most of them, honestly, light, fragile. The Panzer I weighed just 5.4 tons. 2 machine guns. No cannon. The Panzer II, slightly better. A 20mm autocannon. Still not impressive. And yet, they crushed France in 6 weeks. Why? Speed, coordination, radios in every tank. While other armies had tanks, Germany had a system. Part 3. Communication advantage. Every German tank had a radio. Every one. That meant commanders could adapt in real time. Flank here, pull back there, hit that weak point now. Meanwhile, many Allied tanks in 1940, no radios, just flags. Hand signals, hope. It wasn't even close. Part 4. Evolution of war. This was Blitzkrieg, lightning war. Not just tanks. Tanks plus aircraft, artillery, infantry, all moving together like one organism. Fast, violent, coordinated. But here's the thing. By 1942, that system alone wasn't enough anymore. Because the battlefield had changed. And Germany responded the only way it knew how. They built monsters. Part 5. The Tiger appears. Let's start with the one that became legend. The Panzerkampfwagen 6 Tiger 1, introduced in 1942. Weight, 57 tons. Armor, up to 100 millimeters thick on the front. Main gun, the 88mm KUK-36. That gun? It could destroy most Allied tanks at 1,500 meters, sometimes more. Meanwhile, many Allied tanks had to get within 500 meters just to have a chance. Think about that. You're being killed before you can even fight back. Part 6. Sherman vs. Tiger. An American M4 Sherman weighed about 30 tons. Armor? Around 50mm at best. Its 75mm gun was decent, reliable, versatile. But against the Tiger, it struggled. Crews had a saying, if you see a Tiger, call air support. Because going head-to-head, bad idea. Part 7. A cruise encounter. Meet James Carter, age 22, tank gunner, U.S. Army, Normandy, 1944. His Sherman rounds the corner of a hedgerow, and there it is, a Tiger. He fires first. The shell hits, sparks, nothing. The Tiger turns its turret, slowly, calmly. One shot, that was it. Carter survived, barely. His tank didn't. Part 8. Fear and reality. But the Tiger wasn't just about the gun. It was psychological. Big, loud, slow, but unstoppable, at least from the front. Allied soldiers could hear it coming, feel it, and that mattered. Because war isn't just physics. It's fear. Part 9. The cost of power. Now here's the twist. The Tiger was terrifying. But it was also a nightmare. To build, a Tiger required over 300,000 man-hours. Cost around 250,000 Reichsmarks, roughly twice a Panzer IV. And it broke down. A lot. Transmission failures. Engine overheating. Tracks jamming. Sometimes more Tigers were lost to mechanical issues than enemy fire. So yes, it dominated when it worked. But getting it to work, that was the hard part. Part 10. The Panther emerges, and then Germany took it even further. Because the Tiger wasn't enough. They wanted something faster, better armored, more efficient. So they built what many historians still call the best tank of World War II, the Panther. Part 11. Panther design. Official name Panzerkampfwagen Wagen V Panther. Introduced in 1943. Weight 45 tons. Front armor up to 80mm, but sloped. That's important. Sloped armor means incoming shells are more likely to bounce off. So 80mm angled armor could act like 120mm or more in practice. Physics doing the work for you. And its gun? The 75mm KK-42L 70. High velocity? Extremely accurate. It could penetrate a T-34 at over 2,000 meters. That's absurd. Part 12. The Soviet response. Now let's talk about what the Panther was designed to kill. The Soviet T-34. Introduced in 1940, weighed around 26 tons. Not heavily armored, not heavily armed, but simple, cheap, reliable. The Soviet Union built over 80,000 of them. 80,000. Part 13. Quantity versus quality. The Panther was Germany's answer. Better gun, better optics, better armor. One-on-one, the Panther usually wins. But war isn't one-on-one. Because while Germany built about 6,000 Panthers, the Soviets just kept coming. 5 T-34s, 10, 20. You kill 1, 2, 3, and then your engine fails. Or you run out of fuel, or artillery finds you. Part 14, harsh reality. And here's the cruel irony. The Panther was supposed to be more reliable than the Tiger. Early models? They weren't. At the Battle of Kursk in 1943, the largest tank battle in history, many Panthers broke down before even reaching combat. Imagine that. You build the perfect tank, and it dies on the way to the fight. Part 15, the final escalation. Still, when it worked, the Panther was lethal. Fast, accurate, deadly at range. Some crews racked up dozens of kills. But again, it came at a cost. Fuel, spare parts, maintenance crews. These tanks needed all of it. And by 1944, Germany didn't have enough of anything. Not fuel, not time, not margin for error. So what do? When your already massive tank isn't enough, you make it bigger, heavier, more powerful. Which brings us to the next step in this escalation. A tank so overbuilt, it bordered on absurd. And yet, for a brief moment, it was the most powerful thing on tracks anywhere in the world. And the story behind it, that's where things get really interesting. Part 1, the King Tiger appears. They called it the Königstiger, the King Tiger. Official designation, Panzerkampfwagen fixed. Ausfahrt B Tiger II. Introduced in 1944. Weight, nearly 70 tons. Front armor, up to 150 millimeters, sloped. Main gun, the 88 millimeter. This wasn't just an upgrade. This was excess. Part 2, overwhelming firepower. That 88 millimeter gun, it could destroy an M4 Sherman from over 2,500 meters. That's 2.5 kilometers. At that distance, most Allied tanks couldn't even see clearly, let alone hit back. And the armor? Even from the front, many Allied shells simply bounced. Not damaged, not cracked, just. Part 3, Sergei's encounter. Meet Sergei Ivanov, age 31, Soviet tank commander, Eastern Front, late 1944. His T-34 platoon receives orders, advance through a wooded village. They spot it. A Tiger II. Sergei knows the numbers. Everyone does by now. Frontal? Impossible. Part 4. Fighting the impossible. So he flanks, moves fast, uses terrain, gets within 300 meters, fires into the side armor. 1 hit, 2, 3. Finally, penetration. The Tiger burns. Part 5. The cost of victories. Sergei survives, but 3 of his 5 tanks don't. That was the trade. Yes, the King Tiger was almost unbeatable from the front, but it was slow, underpowered for its weight. Part 6. Engineering limits. Its engine, a Maybach HL230, the same basic engine used in lighter tanks. Imagine putting a truck engine into a train. You can guess what happens. It broke down, frequently. Part 7. Mechanical failures. Transmission failures. Final drive issues, the components that transfer power to the tracks. According to post-war analysis, up to 50% of Tiger Is were lost not to combat, but to mechanical failure or abandonment. Half? Let that sink in. Part 8. Vulnerable from above. And then there was the sky. By 1944, the Allies controlled it. Fighter bombers like the P-47, Thunderbolt, and Typhoon hunted tanks relentlessly. A Tiger II might dominate on the ground, but from above, it was just a target. Part 9. A different kind of threat. Now here's where things get interesting. Because not all German armored vehicles were giant beasts. Some were small, cheap, and terrifying in a completely different way. Part 10. The Hetzer, the Panzer 38. Nicknamed the Hetzer. Introduced in 1944. Weight, just 16 tons. Low profile. Sloped armor. Main gun, 75mm pack, no turret. Fixed gun. This wasn't a brawler. This was a hunter. Part 11. Ambush tactic. The Hetzer would hide, wait, let enemy tanks pass, then strike from the side or rear the weakest armor zones. 1 shot, maybe 2, then relocate, disappear. Part 12. Cheap and effective. It was cheap. About 25% the cost of a Panther. Our lowest metal build 100 of them in just a year. Because by this point, they had to. Part 13. Lucas reality. Meet Lucas Weber. Age 17. Volksgrenadier. Late 1944. Minimal training. Limited ammunition. But he has a Hetzer. He doesn't need to win a tank duel. He just needs one good shot. And in defensive warfare, that's often enough. Part 14, the Jagged Panther. Then there's the Jagged Panther. Think of it as a Panther without the turret, but with an even deadlier gun. Official name Jagged Panzer V, Jagged Panther. Introduced in 1944. Weight about 46 tons. Part 15, Long-Range Killers. Main gun, 18mm Pak 43, the same high-velocity cannon used in the Tiger II. That means it could destroy almost any Allied tank at extreme range. And because it had no turret, it was lower, simpler, and cheaper than a full Panther. Better armor profile too. Part 16, Devastating Ambushes in Ambush Roles. The Jagged Panther was devastating. Long-range kills, minimal exposure. Some crews reported destroying multiple tanks in a single engagement and before being spotted. But again, limited numbers. Around 400 produced. Too few. Too late. Part 17, the pattern. Now step back for a second. Look at the pattern. Bigger guns, thicker armor, more complexity. Each new design trying to outmatch the last. Each one more powerful and more fragile. Part 18, Systems versus Machines. Because while Germany was building masterpieces, the Allies were building systems. The United States produced over 49,000 Sherman tanks. The Soviet Union, over 80,000 T-34s. Factories running 24/7. Standardized parts. Simplified designs. Part 19. Replace versus repair. You break a Sherman, replace it. You lose a T-34, send 10 more. Germany couldn't do that. Their tanks were too expensive, too complicated. Part 20. Running on empty. A Tiger II cost roughly the same as 2 to 3 Panthers, or several Panzer IVs. And fuel? By 1945, German units were often immobilized not by enemy fire, but by empty tanks. No fuel, no movement, no chance. Part 21. The real problem. This is the part most people miss. The tanks weren't the problem. The system was. Part 22. The ultimate excess. Because Germany didn't stop at the Tiger II. Oh no, they went further. Prototype stage. Almost unbelievable. Part 23. The Maus. The Panzer VIII Maus. Weight 108 tons. Let me repeat that. 188 tons. Armor up to 220mm thick. Main gun 120 kN cannon. This thing could destroy anything on the battlefield. Anything. Part 24. Too heavy to fight, but it had one small problem. It could barely move. Too heavy for most bridges. Too slow for modern warfare. Only 2 prototypes were ever built. Because even Germany realized this was going nowhere. Part 25. The real answer. And that brings us to the real answer. Why were German tanks so feared? It wasn't just the armor or the guns. It was the feeling. The idea that somewhere out there was a machine you couldn't kill from the front that could see you before you saw it and end the fight instantly. Part 26. The aha moment. But fear isn't the same as victory. And this is the aha moment. Most people think the best weapon wins wars. It doesn't. The most efficient system does it. The one that can build faster, repair faster, replace faster. Part 27. The wrong war. Germany built the most powerful tanks of World War II. No question. But they built them in the wrong war. Part 28. War of factories. Because World War II was a war of factories, of logistics, of numbers. A war where a good enough tank you can produce 50,000 times beats a perfect tank you can only build 1,300 times. Part 29. The final reality. So yes, when a Tiger appeared, people were afraid. When a Panther lined up a shot, people died. When a King Tiger rolled forward, it dominated. For a moment, a brief, terrifying moment. Part 30. The endgame. But then, the fuel ran out. The parts failed. The sky filled with enemy aircraft, and the numbers caught up. In the end, it wasn't the strongest machine that won. It was the one you could keep building every single day.